Word. Okay, well, yeah, I have like a lot I want to ask about. I think just to like start, I want to ask a little bit about like the timeline of this project, particularly like Ethan, I don't know too much about you, like we've never met. But just from like,
Yeah.
again, Instagram, like seeing you, get like a lot of eyes on you a good number of years ago for doing some like really, really awesome shit, and like then like, the Modus stuff coming up, and then like seemed like you kind of took like a dip from the Instagram game, which like I'm always about when people choose to do that. Because like,
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
usually means they're on to bigger and better things for the time being, and like definitely missed watching you move during that time. But like maybe like working on something big. And yeah, just like a bit curious about like, yeah, the beginning of all of this, like where the seed was planted.
I think it honestly, I think it started when like at first the my mentality of wanting to film for parkour videos and like not really caring it as much about what people are doing on Instagram or what I'm putting out there to the world to for like Instagram to see is when I met Noah. I mean when Noah moved to Minneapolis in like I think I think it was must have been like 4 years ago now.
5 years in.
And like right when he moved, we started filming for a little like summer edit, and it was pretty chill, but we still wanted to make it like a good piece of parkour work, and that was like when I first started to like not do as much for Instagram and start saving my clips for a bigger video. And then after that, it just kind of progressed into more and more videos building up to just like fully not even posting on Instagram and just only like I don't care to post on Instagram anymore. The only times that I would is if I just feel like I don't know, just like if I want to share something that interests me or something like that. But uh but yeah, the filming for Hazel started last summer when I got back from the UK for when we filmed for Seoul for Modus. And right when we got back, Keelan told us that I needed more clips, or he wanted us all to get clips for Modus for the end of the video. And so I guess I was the only one that saw that and decided to film extra. So he kind of scrapped that idea. And with my clips that I already had filmed, I kind of just like I wanted to do something with them. I can't just like scrap them and so I just decided to make a like a personal part, I guess.
Heck yeah. I don't know, that makes a lot of sense to me. And that like, I don't know, when I was talking about Hazel with Zach, I was saying it very much seemed like you really going all in with like what a part project can mean. And I guess like that leads me a bit into my next question about like other action sport influence, or just like the idea of like a video part. And I don't know, in my mind, like what y'all did feels like very different than a traditional parkour video. And like it is a parkour video. Like it's not saying it's not a parkour video, but like,
Mhm.
there's that like part component. Um, and like I don't know, that idea of like you've been already working on a few projects of like saving your clips. They're like, to me, this seemed like a real deep dive into just that idea of like, what if I like saw that idea out to its fullest of just like solo video parkour version.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just a bit curious about like that side of things for you.
Yeah, we I mean I didn't get into snowboarding. I mean I the first thing I ever did before I even learned the ABCs was I skateboarded because my dad used to skateboard, and so that was like the first thing I got onto. And I guess just because like I don't know, since I was doing it my like since I could remember, I kind of got bored with that, and then I think eventually I just found parkour, and it's not what my parents, not what my dad did. So to me, that was like more important to me because it was more unique, and so like both of our upcomings were skateboarding and snowboarding related, and we've been into watching a lot of snowboarding videos, and, and the editing style and the filming style is very, like, we feel like that's the, so far, like, from what we've seen, is like the best that it gets, is like to show off the movement. And so I think that's like our main filming inspiration. And then um like the actual movement itself, uh I just feel like I've always wanted to film like a part, and with Modus being like such a great sponsor, that's like super, like Giles is super open to anything, and with like, we did shorties like a year and a half ago, and that kind of like showed me that we can do more than just like posting on Instagram, so we can actually film videos. And all I've wanted to do is just film videos for YouTube, and have fun like saving clips instead of worrying about posting every week or anything like that. And so for me, it's just like, it's just what I want to do, and it's super fun.
Heck
But
yeah,
yeah.
like super relate to that. Um, yeah, I don't know, that balance is always a little hard to find. I think I like personally sit in a weird position in that like I'm like a daily Instagram user, but I also kind of hate Instagram. And so I feel like I hear you say that I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I'm like, but I post on Instagram every single day. So like, you know, I
Yeah.
sit on both sides, but like, yeah, I like there I feel like
It's okay though. We're on Instagram.
for sure, for sure. I guess that's the
We
other part.
just don't like.
Yeah, like regardless of what you're like putting out there, like most of us or many of us in parkour are still like on the receiving end on our phone every day, and like that is
Mhm.
I'm a
something.
dopamine addict.
Yeah, same.
No doubt.
Can't lie.
Mhm.
Yeah, one of the things you're talking about there that leads into another question is like how drawing from that like you know, snowboarding, skateboarding influence of like trying to, as you say, through the filming, like highlight the movement as well as you can. I like, yeah, my like biggest takeaway from this project was like y'all's filmer mover relationship and like going super in on that. Like I don't know, I've definitely like through different relationships in parkour through the years, like found people that I really connect with behind the camera, or I really like to film myself. And let like when you can develop that relationship to a certain point, like I, it just, I don't know, it really feels like a true collaboration, and that like it's not like one person is performing parkour and the other person is passively capturing it. But it is like two artists working together to create something. And like that felt very,
Mhm.
very true to the whole project that y'all made. Um, and like, yeah, I just want to know more
Mhm.
about like, yeah, filmer mover relationship, particularly like when you were filming this, like, did you sometimes think about like the shot and the spot before stuff like, oh, I know I want to get this type of shot at this spot, or like, you know, is it a mix of I know I want to do this trick, or no, I want to do a line at this spot, but like I'm not sure how I want to film it, and like how much conversation between you two is there of like what the goal of that spot and shot is?
Mhm. You want to answer?
Well, first of all, I've known Ethan for a long time, and I think that like going into this project, I felt like I really like we've made a bunch of other stuff before, and for me, this was like my moment to like make him shine, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Like I really care about you and I really love you, and I want like the filming to show, like to have that conversation, if that makes sense.
Totally.
And yeah, so and then when we like show up at a spot and whatnot, it's kind of hard because he's in the zone of like doing something really scary, and my job as the filmer is obviously to like kind of figure it out on my own, but yet there still needs to be a conversation. So I think depending upon like what the line was that he was doing, or if it was like kind of just a one bang really scary thing, determine how much conversation we'd have. So like if it was something that wasn't as scary, we'd probably have a little bit more conversation because he was not quite as focused on overcoming a fear or his fear. and then if it's something that's really scary, then it's kind of up to me to like, and also Nico helped film too, Miles helped film. So it was kind of our job to like talk amongst each other and decide like what angle we're gonna get. And then yeah, we'd still check with him like, is it like, do you think this will be cool? Like blah blah blah. And then from there we decide.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of gets frustrating at times trying to film each other because I'm a filmer too, and so I care about like what the angle is gonna be, what it's gonna look like, and so like, and it's the same for him. So if I'm filming him or he's filming me, it's sometimes it gets like
It can get a little heated.
yeah, because I mean, sometimes we pitch in on the filming a bit too much when we're moving, but yeah.
No, that's really interesting. I feel like I haven't quite experienced that level of that dynamic of like wanting to kind of leave the other to their craft on both sides of the equation. In that like I don't think I've like progressed my parkour filming enough to like feel that from others yet, nor to deserve that from others yet. And like, yeah, I don't know. I think that's like particularly interesting to me. Um, I don't know, something on my mind a lot lately is like the kind of typical version of what going out and doing parkour looks like. And like a lot of places I've traveled, it's been some version of the same thing, and that like everyone's at the same spot, and it's like some balance of like you're doing the same things together. Maybe you go off on your own to find your own idea. Maybe there's a little bit of filming, maybe there's a bit of goofiness in play, but like some mix of all of those things. And I think it can be really hard to be super like intentional about like working on a project, like y'all did, and like have those roles be really clear. Like we're going out today, like I'm moving, you're filming, like that's how it's going to be today, and not like you can't move, but like when it comes to like what the project is, like you have clear roles for the day. And like I I don't know, that's been on my mind a lot lately, is like a way to like just put a lot more thought and intention into what it is that we do. And like I don't know, and like I wrote like a little response after watching it, and like that was kind of one of the biggest takeaways for me, is that like like the bulk of the video was movement. It wasn't like B-roll dense. It was still like the meat of what did the video for me was not necessarily the movement, although the movement was amazing. It was just like how much thought was put into everything, and like attention to like all that makes making a parkour video a parkour video. And like, yeah, I think that like filmer mover dynamic is like, I don't know, kind of the one of the main examples for that for me, like throughout the whole thing. Um, and yeah, I guess like
It's so cool that you saw that. That means a lot.
Yeah. The filming and the moving and the editing and how everything is put together is all like it's all equal to us, and we want to make sure that like the filming doesn't take a priority over the movement and vice versa. Like we want everything to have as much attention equally.
And we also hold each other subconsciously to like a high standard. Like, and I feel like we kind of always have in our amongst our friends is that like if we're making something, we're gonna go all in, and typically that comes with sacrifices. And yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I'm curious to speak on like the landscape of that in parkour, because like I know someone else who also enjoys watching other action sports. I feel like parkour is particularly bad in its, I don't know, yeah, being guilty of not putting effort into things other than the movement. And
Mhm.
like I feel like people are really, myself included, really gassed up on just moving and moving alone. And like on one
Which
hand,
there's nothing wrong with. That's totally okay.
Yeah.
See, the problem is in parkour is that there's just not enough people dedicated to the specific subgenres within it. Like snowboarding has like, dudes get older, they get a camera and they still want to be a part of the culture. And like, so they pick up a camera and show off their homies. But like with parkour, I don't know if we're quite to that level yet, but I think it's really headed in the right direction, especially in the last couple of years. There's a lot of people who are, holding themselves to a higher standard and putting that effort in. But yeah, there's nothing wrong at all with just moving. I mean, without the movement, it's like, it's like what there's nothing to film. So
I feel like Instagram is also like the the age that parkour is becoming bigger and is becoming like, I don't know, the age that it's like in is, it was kind of rough because in the beginning of parkour, like a lot of the stuff we like to watch now is the older videos, and we've been talking and just like realizing that all the older videos have the filming, like all the old Russian videos, they have good filming and good fisheye angles, and but I think with just like how young parkour is, Instagram kind of took over and people aren't really focused on how things are filmed, and they're just focused on how their clips gonna do on Instagram. And so people aren't focused on actually filming videos anymore until like I think Keelan kind of revamped that with saving clips and everything. So
Yeah, for sure.
And you guys.
yeah, you guys too.
Toasty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, once again, it's like the thing that I find coolest about where parkour has been at in like the last 4 or 5 years is that like it feels like collaborative like across the whole globe to some degree, where it's like I think for the same reason there's that like all those negatives that you were kind of just talking about associated with Instagram. I think it's also like you get to work like yeah like across space with like-minded people, and that like I felt like experiencing it myself as I got older and wasn't like a 12-year-old doing parkour anymore. It's like okay, like yeah, like in real time, like we're all like influencing each other and growing this together. And like yeah, that this last iteration of seeing like a bit more effort put into like returning to that old longer format video you know, it's like been so cool to see. um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like I don't know, it leads me into something that's been on my mind a lot, particularly during this injury. But like I don't know why we move, and like if you think about it as art, which I do, what it is that you make. And like that's been on my mind a lot. It kind of started like I finished school last year, and like I was doing a thesis project around movement, and like had a bit of a crisis of sorts where I was like, I don't know what it is that I make, because I wanted to do something with movement for my thesis, and I was like, well, the obvious thing to do is a parkour video. Like that's what doing parkour looks like, right? We make videos. And then I was like, oh, but like I put way more effort into just doing the movement than I do these other aspects, like we were just talking about. And I was like, if what I do as an artist is make videos, like I need to realize that. I need to pay attention to that. And like I don't know, now in this later stage with this injury, thinking about like there's kind of this separation for me of like I both love to move as to make art and to like share ideas and to have that like exchange of information and like share my perspective of the world with others and have them respond to it. But then there's like another side of this for me where it's like I need to move for me, for my well-being, to feel present in the world, to like feel grounded, to feel okay. And like those things can overlap. Like I can make art with that at the core of it, but like sometimes I need to go move and not do shit with it. And like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the emotional depth of Hazel made me kind of question that dynamic for you, and like wonder during this process like how often you'd go out to move no camera, how much of your time was just working on this project, and like whether working on this like heightened those feelings at all for you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of my big problems is just like not going out training by myself or doing parkour by myself. And I don't know why. It's just I'm not, if I know no homies are gonna be outside training, I'm not very motivated to go out by myself to train, even though I love it. It's just hard for me to get the like drive to actually go out and do it. But um but like yeah, I think most of the while we were filming, I think most of the time I was just going out with the camera, which is kind of sucks to say because it's like I should be moving to love it, and I did love filming, but my mind was like fully in the zone of just like I want to get these clips and work on my part only, which is it is what it is. But now I really like right after filming, I really wanted to I had the feel like strong feeling of just wanting to go out to train without like any cameras or anything. But now we're working on another video, so so it's hard, but
For sure. Yeah, and then like I don't know the second part of that because I know I kind of rambled a little bit in the last section, but like how much do you think about like what it is that you do in the sense of like I do you think like you're making video parts is like your medium for what it is that you do? Or is like the movement itself, like if you didn't make any videos, do you think your art would be the same? Or is like this an essential component to like what you want to do as an artist?
mhm. um I don't think it's for me right now. I think moving is like it's what I want to do, and I love filming. I also love filming movement, but in the future, I know I'm not going to be able to do that. Like I'm not going to be able to move this way forever. And so I think I'm gonna have to dig into like all these different mediums, and I'm gonna start. I mean, I love doing photography. I just don't have a camera or anything. I love filmmaking, but yeah, I think I'm still learning, and I'm just gonna keep on doing that. But for me right now, I think movement is the big thing that I want to do.
Hell yeah. Let's see what else I got here. I want to talk about your spot selection and your trick selection and like the relationship between those two things.
Mhm.
I feel like everyone has their own process with like how they make their lines or even just their like individual like one bangs. And like I I don't know, I'm always interested in whether it's like spot gave me the idea or I had the idea and I found the spot or somewhere in between.
I think, I mean, I used to move a lot differently until I guess recently I found my like the way that I move. I found my true like movement identity, I guess. And recently, I mean, it was on when we were filming for Hazel's when I found like the way that I love to move, because like the first half of the video, I'm still not very happy about a lot of the stuff that I did, because it's just I just was kind of I would before like I realized how I actually move, I would just spend like hours just looking at a spot and trying to think of the coolest thing I can do there. But now I think my favorite thing um is like highlighting the spot with my movement, and I feel like the spot is just as important as the actual thing that I'm doing. So like if I find a spot, I like to find like the I like to use the unique features of that spot that like you can't do any of what you would do at this spot at a different spot because it's unique to this spot. So if I see like a uh
Like the S wall.
like a swirl in a spot or something, I like that clip. I really wanted to like I saw that unique feature. I don't like you don't see that anywhere else. So I wanted to use that whole thing. And so at like the top of the first hump, I did a roll, and then at the top of the neck, like the second hump, I also did a roll. So I like just like at the spot, I guess. And I also like doing things that I don't see other people do as much, using spots, I guess.
Yeah, I could not agree more with that like spot component and that like I really try to think about the spot as like a dance partner where it's like we are
Hmm.
really stake in the thing that's coming together. And like all of my favorite shit is always just like informed by the space and like yeah, that felt really evident in a lot of the movement in Hazel of just like spending a lot of time with like the spot telling you what to do, not like I don't know, going out like, oh yeah, I want to hit this today. Like let's find any old wall. Like and I also think that's where like a lot of like the
Hmm.
real beauty
Yeah,
lie. Yeah, go on.
it's like you have a relationship with the spot, kind of like you're like the spot is your friend, and it's kind of important to just as much as like the filming and the movement itself, the spot is also it's just as important as everything else. So
Respect the spot.
yeah, respect the spot.
Hell yeah. Um, I also want to talk about song selection. I feel like when I edit, that's like what takes me the longest. And like it can really make or break a video depending on someone's taste. And like, I don't know, with my music taste, it was all bangers for me, and I was a huge fan. But yeah, I'm just curious about like whether that was an easy or difficult process.
Well, he picked most of the
Yeah.
music, so you can.
That was super hard for me because like when I'm trying to edit my own videos or when I'm like just when I'm choosing music for videos, it takes me forever because I know that whatever I choose is gonna be like it's gonna be what's in the video, and I don't want to be unhappy with what I chose in the future. And I don't know, for some reason I'm just super indecisive when it comes to choosing music for videos. So that probably a couple months to come up with like the actuals I wanted to use.
I would make like an edit of something that he chose, and then he would come over and I'd show him, all right, so this is what I got going. He's like, new song. And that happened probably like 3 or 4 times.
I
But I
really,
get it. I
really,
get it.
really,
I'm what?
Yeah, it's tough. I gotta make up my mind.
um,
But yeah.
one other thing I was like dying to talk
Yourself,
about
come here.
is like the presence of bugs, all the bugs in the video, and like
I feel like I mean there wasn't really a like a super strong reason for that. We really wanted a theme for the video, and we would just talk about like I guess there is like kind of a reason, and my like coach or my friend Daniel was super into like bugs, and so I guess that's the main reason. And we wanted or I wanted the art role to be something that kind of relates to him, but obviously nobody's gonna get that unless they knew him as a person.
Also, I feel like we kind of, I feel like a lot of times when you make art or you make a video or something, like you don't always know the reason why you're making it at first, and you're just kind of doing it. And then afterwards, like after you have your finished product, you can kind of create meaning to it. And when I was putting the bug stuff in, I also kind of felt like with Hazel, how it's like you're using a dead tree as your ender, and I
Mhm.
kind of felt like insects were like the like creatures that recycle the kind of the like termites, how termites recycle
Mhm.
wood, and you're recycling a spot like what somebody else would see as useless as something extremely useful, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
That's a
But
good way to put it. Yeah, I feel like it's the same with like the name Hazel too. Like it's the actual name, like why we chose it is there, like there's a bunch of different reasons to me. Uh, and we didn't even know what it was going to be called until like like a week before we were going to premiere it at Hubbable. But Noah sent me the video, and like when he was all done, all finished editing it, and I just thought, I guess Hazel's like I kind of relate it to an emotion. Like I relate colors to emotions, and Hazel's kind of like the emotions that I felt, um, like we both felt filming during the video, and what the goal of the actual video is, like what it's supposed to make you feel. But also like another reason it could be called Hazel is because Hazel's like two different colors or multiple colors, and this is equally mine and Noah's project.
I really fuck with that. That's super tight. All right, picking up where we left off, I know you like touched on it briefly, and like I understand if you don't want to go into too much depth, but yeah, I wanted to ask more about the like tribute component to this video, and like I don't know, your relationship, his impact on your parkour, kind of like what you wanted to say with that. I don't know. I just like it was very much felt, and yeah, I know that like it might be personal and you don't want to talk about it, but yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, I'll talk about it a bit. Uh, Daniel was uh Daniel was like the person that taught me parkour, and he was just like he was like my idol pretty much. Like he became the person I looked up to the most. And but yeah, like my movement, I would not move the same without him. And because like the first things that he taught me were how to control my own body and like know, like pretty much identify my comfort zone with things. And so he taught me control and flow and connection. Those were the first things that I learned, like in parkour at all, before flips or anything. And and so yeah, like everything I do now is like I think about him a lot of the times, like before I do stuff. And he was just the best person ever.
Also, for a really long time, I kind of feel like we saw a lot of him in you through the movement. Is almost kind of like Dan was kind of living within you whenever you would move, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Um, I met him when uh like in the first 2 years I started doing parkour, and he was like probably one of the first people to not make fun of me for doing parkour. And I remember meeting him at a jam, and I remember being really nervous at the jam. And he was the first person to talk to me and train with me. And he was just a really loving, kind person that always was extremely positive. And like it didn't matter who you were or what your background was, he was just always like he always had um, good things to say. And um, yeah, he's a really, really special person for the Minnesota community. And he got around. He went to a lot of jams, and I think for the people that met him, uh, he influenced a lot of people. And yeah,
And he would just, no matter who you were or like what you believe or what you're like, he would make you feel comfortable in your own skin.
yeah,
And uh yeah, he was just like best person ever. All I ever wanted to do was make a video with Dan. Didn't get a chance to.
And this feels like pretty close, you know? And yeah, I don't know. I just like doing tricks. It's not that deep. But the like relationships that I've like made through this activity and like the way that like they've affected me like really deep.
Mhm.
And I think like I don't know, trying to highlight like those stories in parkour is like really beautiful thing, something that's not done enough. And like I think is also the part that can sometimes be hardest to share. And that like it's so ubiquitous. Like the the depth to that love, and like I don't know, I like think in many points in my life I've definitely like struggled to form close connections with people that I can't move with, because like the way it can connect us is just like that much richer a lot of the time. And like yeah, I don't really commend y'all because it's just really beautiful and really powerful. And I don't know, we need more shit like that. Like, you know, when does parkour make you cry? Like
yeah.
that's amazing.
It's the people in it
Yeah.
that make parkour special.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And like a much less serious note, I have just a few more questions about like more specific like shots or moves within the video. Um Specifically want to talk about just like ender culture and like your choice for your ender. And I was like particularly interested in like the penultimate clip in the like line in LA that was like unsuccessful, but I was so glad it was still in there. And like that's something I'm always really interested in, and like what people value in parkour, why they think it's good. Um, and like, yeah, just the idea of in a video part, like how, there's traditions of like certain points in the video being more valuable than others. And yeah, I was just kind of curious about what brought you to those two clips.
Mm-hmm. You're saying the the flyaway pre-clip that I filmed, and what was the other one, the ender?
And then the ender, yeah.
Okay. I feel like the hardest thing I did was that the flyaway that I never got, because I think I must, like, we went back probably like 3 different days, and I tried that and like so many different times. Like I think I must have tried it like 50 times or something like that. But each time I grabbed the tree, the hardest part was getting like from grabbing onto the tree, landing, and then jumping back into it, because I wanted to make it like continuous with no swings, just like straight into the flyaway. And I only got it one time, the straight connection, and that was the time that I hurt myself on. I mean, I didn't really hurt myself that bad, but like that I bailed on. And it just, I tried a bunch more times after that, and I just couldn't get it. And
Also, your hands.
yeah, my hands were pretty beat up by then because it was just nonstop swinging. Like both hands had pretty good rips on them, and I just kept going after that. But yeah, I was getting desperate, but we couldn't get it.
It's kind of a gnarly spot too to like have rips on your hands. Like that's a grimy spot. I don't know. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Have some open wounds on that spot is
Yeah.
not good.
I'm gonna say like having rips and swinging on a tree versus a bar are two very different things. And like, I don't know, without grabbing that branch myself, like I don't know, was it smooth? Do you have a bunch of those little like tiny nibs going into your hand if
Yeah.
you had the wrong spot?
Each time I'd have the bark would just be scraping my hand worse and worse, because it was one of those trees that just had like the bark like was super spiky all the way around the branch. So each time I grabbed it, like I had to grab the branch twice for every try, and then I'd also swing back every time. So I mean, I did it a lot, and yeah, my hand was just like destroyed by then.
I think if I remember correctly, there's 44 attempts at that,
Okay, sounds about right.
which is pretty, but that's a lot of attempts.
Yeah.
Like,
So just like major props for like specifically wanting to do that with one swing. Or like, I don't know, there's like so many people would be like, oh fuck it, like that's too hard. Like the end of the ass line, like just add one more swing. But like yeah, I don't know. I like just that level of like, as you're saying, trying to hold yourself to a higher standard and like what you want to do. And like I think that like having a like an unsuccessful clip in there that is like significantly harder than like if you had say like you made it a clip but it had an extra swing. Like I think this is better than that, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah, thank
that's
you.
a bold choice in a great way. And yeah, I like oh so yeah, the ender. I'm curious about the ender.
So we were that was like that was the last thing I did, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah. So we were just like, nothing I had done up until that point I wanted to use, like I was comfortable using as an ender, because nothing I like did was scary enough, and I didn't like, yeah, I guess I wasn't proud enough of anything that I did. Nothing freaked me out enough to use as an ender. So we were just out like I just repeated myself. Uh yeah, it freaked me out. But we were like we were just out searching for an ender at like the ending of filming, and like that's all we were looking for pretty much. And so we found this like junkyard construction place, and there was this jump jump to a sign that I saw on top of a rooftop. And because I was just like looking for anything, and I thought maybe I could side flip to it or something. And so I climbed up on top of that roof, and the sign was just a little bit wonky, I think, and there was like some trees in the way. And then I looked over and like to my right, and then I just saw this weirdly angled branch and another branch below it, and then just like a gap over a fence. And I just thought maybe it'd be sick to do the underbar if we like cut off a branch or something. And I thought it'd be so easy. Like I didn't think that was gonna be the ender. I thought it'd be really easy, so I also thought that night maybe I could do like the swing kick side over, like the underbar kick side. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what, I was on perk 30 that night, I think. But so we came back and like chopped off the branch below it. And I was up there for a while looking at it because we came back the next few days. And I did the standing underbar first. And that was like pretty chill, to be honest, like jumping to it, because when you're doing it standing, you can jump and reach out with your hands first and then just pull like a swing. But to me, that wasn't like a true underbar. So I wanted to run into it, and running is so much worse because you have to get your feet up first. So it's like you're when you're running at it, you can't see the fence below until you get all the way to the edge. And then also like the underbar was like the branch that I was swinging off was almost level with where I was taking off of. Or it was like a little bit like knee height or something. And but yeah, like I had to kick my legs out first before I could even grab it. So my legs were all in front of me like the whole time. So I couldn't see where I was going. And just after like a while, after like I don't know how long, just like looking at it for a long time, I just ran at it and jumped and grabbed the bar, and I guess I mean I almost clipped my feet on the fence
It was
too.
really close.
Yeah.
It was very close.
Yeah.
And there was barbed wire at the top of the
Yeah.
fence too.
So I
So it
mean,
was like
yeah, my butt almost touched the barbed wire, but and I was just worried about like the impact mostly, but the impact was fine. I should have been worried about like making it over the barbed wire because that almost ended me.
Like so much cooler to stay that close.
Yeah.
you had to like force it out too, I remember. Like it was you kept running up and kicking rocks
Hmm.
off the edge of the roof.
Yeah.
And you're like, why is it so scary? Why is it so scary? And you kept doing that, and finally
Hmm.
you just I don't know, you just did
So
it.
some things are like when I'm doing something, I want to be able to fully visualize what I'm gonna do before I even go for it. So like in my mind, I want to be able to see myself landing it and going through all the steps before I do it, because then that's where I get the confidence to actually do something. But sometimes like with stuff like this, it nothing like the full end result didn't come into my mind before I had to do it. And that's always the scariest is because I don't know what's gonna happen. And I just had to like jump at it, which is not probably the best thing to do, but
I also feel like that's where like the greatest display of our abilities can come out though. And that's why I feel like often like people's like Ukemi clips are sometimes the most impressive to me, and just that like seeing the like spontaneous decisions being made. And yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was also a really cool statement with just like picking a very like entry level parkour move taken to like a very high degree.
mm,
Um, and that like I think a lot of people in parkour are just kind of pushing the spin to win, like scale it up, scale it up, scale it up, let's go bigger. And like
yeah.
you can't do that forever. Like both as an individual and as like a community, we can't do that forever.
Yeah.
And like I kind of love the idea of like, I don't know, yeah, showing taking something that is accessible and performing it to a level that like can still wow in the same way that like people who are doing like world's first are. It's
Mhm.
like your typical underbar isn't going to blow me away, and that's why it's like that much more impressive, like to make a underbar standalone, no line, just an underbar, like ender worthy, is like
Mhm.
no small feat. I think also really highlights like the I don't know degree to which like spot selection felt really important to this video, and that like if you did that underbar not over a barbed wire fence, it probably would not hit the same. And like
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I feel like I was kind of forced into, I mean, I wasn't forced into it, but a while ago I had like a an injury from like just a really bad back injury from twisting too much. And this was before Noah moved like right when Noah moved to Minnesota is when I had that problem, and so my back was like all hunched over because of I was just like landing my twists wrong or something because I was really into trying to do the most twists like everyone else was at the time, and and then I had to like pretty much just like stop twisting for my back to get better, and then at that point I don't think I haven't done a double twist in like years because I just don't think I to me they're not as cool as if you can do something that's like I mean they might be just as cool but they're not fun for me because I'm gonna hurt myself. But
Well, one thing that makes me think of is like what you were saying earlier of like preferring to have your movement be informed by the spot. I feel like a lot of these like intermediate to higher level tricks um are difficult enough, even though like, we're starting to surpass it and like double full like isn't that hard anymore to a lot of people. Like that's a hard trick and like you need a good spot to do it for the most part. Like people are pushing that obviously as they're gonna do. But like a lot of these like more typical difficult tricks kind of beg for like a really simple location of like something high up, a drop off of it, a soft landing. And like there isn't a lot going on there. So yeah, it just makes a lot of sense to me that you would kind of have moved away from that because it's like, well, like, I don't know. If you're not gonna do like double full to a rail, like what's the point?
yeah, there's definitely a way to make any type of move look cool with like the spot you choose and how you choose to do it and what the conditions are or whatever. But like you can do anything, make it look really sweet. But for me, it's just I'm just haven't been into the twisting in a while, like double twists or anything like that. Um, but yeah, I just feel like doing basic movement or not like super basic movement, but like using just like
The
some of the more
fundamentals.
the easier like fundamental type stuff, pushing that to like the maxes. I think that's pretty cool to me. And that's like my favorite thing to do.
No doubt. I think like in a slightly different direction. One other question I had was like um I'm losing my train of thought.
Take your time.
Mm, I lost that one, but I'll go to a different one. I was just curious about like both of y'all's thoughts on like paid parkour content as a whole, what you like hoped to contribute to the progression of that with this video, um, like what you think it can do for parkour in the future, etc. One thing I had a big takeaway from this is like every other paid project that's come out in parkour has been long as fuck. Everyone's like, if we're gonna charge money, we gotta make a movie. And
Yeah.
like it isn't necessarily good if it's long. Like that's
No.
what makes it good.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, I think it really sets a precedent of like, hey, like the movement and like a cohesive, well-made thing is really what we value. And like it doesn't need to be a documentary. It doesn't need to be an hour long. Like make it more like because this was closer to like the you know the canon of what parkour videos look like, and I feel like I haven't seen something in that vein be like for money yet. And like personally, I'm super about that, super about supporting that. But yeah, I just wanted to hear y'all's kind of thoughts on that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do it.
So I mean we don't have like anything that there's nothing that we make. We don't have any like we don't have a board or we don't have any tools or anything that people can buy that people need to buy to like do parkour. Anybody can do parkour without anything. And so it's not like we're going to be making money from anything else really. So I feel like if you make a video and you no matter like how long it is really, if you make a video and you believe that it's good enough or you believe in yourself that it's like worth a certain amount, I feel like like be down to support it because it's like I would pay like $10 for a 5 minute video if it came down to that because it's supporting parkour and it's putting money into parkour where we aren't getting that from anything else pretty much besides clothing.
I wish we didn't. I do kind of wish that we didn't have to do that though, because the one thing about putting up a paywall in front of our stuff is that like
It also suppresses
yeah,
it.
it suppresses like the rest of the world from seeing it. And hopefully that'll change, but like yeah, I wish that we didn't have to do it, but I think that it's right now it's kind of like what else can you do until somebody makes a good shoe or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, very much agree. One thing it also made me think of is something I've seen like a number of like street ski groups do in recent years of like put up a project for $5 or $10, something similar to what y'all did, and then like a month or two later put it up on YouTube and make it clear the whole time that like it will be up later, but like if you're a real one and if you support what we do, like go watch the shit. And like I don't know, I think like what you're saying is very true, is that like it is a little bit of a double-edged sword of like I really want to see, I don't know, all of these hardworking individuals like yeah get return for the work that they put in, but I also like yeah I love how quick the exchange of ideas in parkour is, and that like payment does hinder that a bit. um but like I don't know, it's like a chicken or the egg thing where it's like the issue isn't paid content in parkour, it's capitalism and other bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. But we were actually thinking about maybe putting it on YouTube like in a year's time from now.
Mm.
Do you think that would be like a good thing or like because we really want like other people to be able to see it that maybe can't afford it or just like it to be accessible to people outside of parkour. And so like we're thinking about like maybe putting it on YouTube like in a year from now, but we're kind of nervous that if we did that, then like it kind of like the people who paid for it, you know, that there might be an uproar or something. I don't know.
Right. I mean, personally, I think that's a great idea, and that like, I don't know, especially having like that chunk of time in between, it like gives people who like, yeah, want to support like an opportunity to do so. As well as like parkour moves really fast and stuff ages really fast, and like I think like the immediacy is like worth something to people, and at least worth something to me.
True. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
He's been sitting at his food dish this whole time.
Channel him.
I'm getting like toward the end of my list. I guess is like last thing I didn't get to. It's maybe not the most interesting question, but no, Minnesota winter is not an easy one. And you said you started filming in the summer, and yeah, I'm just curious about through that winter what your relationship to the climate looked like.
Um, yeah, I mean, I pretty much like fully stopped filming for the video in October or maybe like November or something. And then like most of the clips that were at the end or like that I'm proud of that I'm still happy with or were all filmed in spring, which is like right when the snow started to clear up. But like during winter in Minnesota, it's so hard because it gets like almost too cold to be outside, or it does get too cold to be outside a lot of the times. And when it's not, me and Noah like we would snowboard a lot and do stuff like that, but we can't. I mean, we weren't doing parkour, and I had the idea of maybe I could film some clips in the snow and get some like snow clips, but I guess I just didn't follow through with it because I wasn't like geared up enough or something. But
It's just so hard. It's like
yeah,
it gets like Colorado has like pretty gnarly winters too, right? But
Not so
I
bad.
feel like you
Growing up in Mass, it was worse there than it is here. Like I feel like baby.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, it gets because of the moisture in the air, it gets like -20 sometimes. It's crazy. Like
like
it's just
-50.
it has gotten to -50 before. It's crazy.
Yeah, like definitely like not to that degree, but yeah, growing up in Massachusetts, like similar vibe of like it really shifts everything for the winter. Like I mean, I think I'm sure y'all probably know like that's kind of what Hubble was like formed around in the first place. Was they're like, oh, we're all stuck inside in the winter, and like Hubble was like the spring jam, and like everyone would like do all their new shit that they had learned in the gym over the winter. And like I don't know, I kind of liked in some ways that like time reference for my progression of like having that hard reset every winter, and that like I know I would always be like super hungry for it once everything
Mhm.
melted. And like I don't know, now knowing that this video was kind of sandwiched around a winter, I can kind of feel that of like, all right, you laid the groundwork, and then you're like, all right, snow's gone, like I'm ready for this shit. And like
Yeah, I had a lot of time to think about it, and we also like kind of figured out how to film parkour too, like right at the end of like fall. So then we had all winter to like think about how we were gonna do, how we were gonna like start actually filming and how we were gonna like keep going with our filming. And so the filming in the video got a lot better, I think, once uh like spring rolled around. And but it's also hard because we don't really have a gym to go to here that we are like happy to go to just
Happy to
because
support.
happy to support, yeah, because like just the culture and like our big gym here is kind of it's just not it's really weird and kind of gross. So we don't want to support that, but so it's hard because we can't really train much during the winter. So
You just get cooped up and your thoughts and your excitement for the spring gets boiled, and then the first spring day it's just like, all right, let's go, let's
yeah.
which is honestly great too. I think that is like a blessing in disguise, to have like the emotions of wanting to train so bad build up, because then once you finally do, like you really like um yeah, I don't know what I'm saying, but I think you get the idea of it.
yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know, I can be guilty of like too much doing, not enough thinking, and like particularly when it comes to my movement. And I think, yeah, like literally not being able to do it for a couple months out of the year, like is plenty of an opportunity to like take a step back and like really put some more thought into shit. Like, yeah, it makes sense to me looking at the final product that like, yeah, there's a dense Minneapolis winter in the center of that.
I mean, that's happening to you with your injury, I imagine.
Yeah.
Similar vibe for sure.
I
Definitely.
feel like the I don't know why, but I feel like the winters also help progression in parkour for me, and I'm sure you guys too, but just like not being able to do something for that long and having so many nights to sleep on it and just think about it like at all times, I feel like I get better during the winter, like I progress in my own way. And it's the same with injuries too. You get time to think about it and you can put more thought into it and just become more you can just like yeah what like you were saying just like analyze your movement before and become even better when you come back.
Learn
Yep.
in your sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man. I think that's like about everything I got written down here. I'm sure I'm gonna like, finish this up and be like, oh no, I should ask about this, and I'll probably shoot you with like DMs in the coming days if I think of more. Um, but that's about all I got. Thank you so much for being like up for this. I like really gassed up on like all of this, and I don't know, making me think, making me feel. It's good stuff.
Thank you.